still of night, where shadows creep. Dan and Norm guide us, no secrets to keep. Through the ancient woods, where lost souls sigh, Bigfoot watches from the depths, lurking nearby. Welcome to the gateway to the unknown, where whispers of ghosts chill you to the bone. Paranormal tales and unknown phenomena unfold. With cryptids and mysteries, let the stories be told. Echoes of laughter from realms out of sight. Ghostly apparitions dance in the pale moonlight. In haunted halls where shadows entwine, Dan and Norm lead us through the veil of time. Welcome to the gateway to the unknown, where whispers of ghosts chill you to the bone. Paranormal tales and unknown phenomena unfold. With cryptids and mysteries, let the stories be told. Through fog and fear we venture deep into ancient mysteries where secrets sleep. With every heartbeat we draw near to enigmas hidden in the atmosphere. Welcome to the gateway to the unknown, where whispers of ghosts chill you to the bone. Paranormal tales and unknown phenomena unfold. With cryptids and mysteries, let the stories be told. So hold on tight as we drift away. Dan and Norm will return another day. In dreams we'll wander where shadows roam free. At the gateway to the unknown, come explore with me. As echoes linger in the night's embrace, ancient mysteries whisper, they leave a trace. With every thought that fades into dark, the gateway awaits, it ignites a spark.
Welcome to Gateway to the Unknown. I'm Daniel Hegman.
And I'm Norm Domek.
And I'm Michelle George.
And Michelle is our guest speaker on today's episode.
Yes, thank you for inviting me to join in the conversation. I think it's going to be a great one.
Let's do the introduction. Angels and divine beings have captured humanity for centuries, appearing in religious texts, folklore, and personal testimonies. These ethereal entities are often described as messengers of God, protectors, or guides who intervene in extraordinary ways during pivotal moments. From glowing figures in ancient paintings to modern-day sightings captured on camera, angels transcend cultural boundaries, offering comfort and awe to those who encounter them. Whether depicted with radiant wings or as human-like figures, their presence is often associated with peace, hope, and mystery. Are these beings manifestations of divine energy, or do they reflect humanity's deep yearning for connection to the unseen? Today, we delve into remarkable encounters with angels and explore their impact on belief systems, psychology, and pop culture. Prepare to journey into a realm where ordinary lives meet extraordinary forces.
Have either of you ever experienced seeing an angel?
I have.
Cool.
It was I was in the hospital, and it was a dark. It was late at night, dark. It was a ward, like a recovery ward. I had just got out of intensive care. I'd been in there for a really long time, and this nurse came in, and I was kind of in a bad place. Just like, why me? Those kind of questions that you ask when something horrible happens to you. And this nurse came in, and she was smiling, and she put her hand on my ankle, which had the worst trauma, and she said, "It's going to be okay, sweetheart." And kind of looked at her, and when she put her hand on me, it was warm. And she said, "It's going to be all right, sweetheart." And she kind of tapped me 3 times on my ankle, real light, real nurturing, like, "I know you're hurt," but it got warm. And she smiled, and she left. And I was like, "Wow, that's cool." I've met all the nurses here, but I haven't met her. And the nurse came in, a different nurse, and I said, "Wow, that was a really nice nurse that came in. Who was that?" Because they normally introduce themselves and say, give their name. And the nurse that came in said, "Honey, I'm the only one working this ward tonight." So that was interesting, to say the least. And it was calming. And I sat there and laid in my bed and looking at the ceiling and thought about that all night. And my ankle, the pain that I was in, was not as intense as it was before she had came. So 100%, I believe that was an angel.
Oh, that's
How about
wild. How about you, Michelle?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, what I recall happening was uh, after my father passed away. Uh, I was a caregiver for he and my mother during their later years, and since he was taking care of my mother at the end, but then he had a cardiac arrest, so it was like a uh, dual job that I had, and which was fine. I was able to handle that all right. My husband helped me a lot, and but after his passing, there was so much to do. I I didn't get into the grieving until several weeks later, till everything settled down, and I was at the cemetery, and my heart was heavy, and this was my time to experience the grief, and so I was having that time that I couldn't really deal with earlier, and in the midst of that heavy heart, I felt an arm, a very comforting arm, go around my shoulders. And it almost had a warmth to it. What happened was at that moment, all of my grief was removed. My heart was no longer heavy, and it was a lightness. And every time then, when I would think of the memories of my father that had passed, I was recalling the happy memories, and every one of the memories brought a smile to my face, and I was just like, and and it was such a gift that I received at that moment. It was so heartfelt, and I felt so blessed to have that experience, and I wish everyone that goes through the grieving process could have such an experience, such a gift.
Well, that's very interesting.
very
I
sweet?
know. Go ahead, Norm.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's very sweet. That's a very heartwarming story.
It is. Uh, the only experience that I can relate to, and I really don't even know if it pertains to this particular topic, but my grandmother, uh, in her later years, she was almost considered totally blind. And on the weekends, of course, my 2 sisters, they had to have their freedom to go out and do their thing and go to dances and whatnot. And Of course, me being the youngest of three, I got stuck on the weekends sitting with my grandmother, which I really didn't mind. I would watch studio wrestling. Uh, and my grandmother, she was, in every sense of the word, a true ringside Rosie. And I can remember, going over and she'd sit in her rocking chair and it should be a foot away from the TV screen. Otherwise, she couldn't see what was going on. And came time that she had to be hospitalized, and it was the end of her time. And I was sitting there and just I was talking with her, just like we're talking right now. And all at once, it just you could feel the air in the room changed. I can't explain it other than you could clearly feel there was a difference. And she took her last breaths. She was gasped, took her last breaths. And I was sitting there, and of course, my mother was there also, but she had gone down to get a cup of coffee. And just as she came back into the room, she was actually outside the door, and my grandmother had passed. There were three loud knocks, and I mean they were loud. And the first one, and I jumped. I mean, it startled me. And after the third knock, my mother, she stepped into the room, and there was a flash of light like up toward the ceiling, and it was like you were looking into the sun. It was so bright, and that lasted for about, I get goosebumps recalling this, but it lasted for about, I'm going to say, 5 or 6 seconds, and then it just faded away. And my mother looked at me and she said, I was about to scold you for making that noise in here. She thought that I was the one that made the knocking noises. And much later on, after this had happened, just sitting around the dinner table or discussing things, and that bright light, we assumed that it was my grandmother's spirit, being taken up to heaven.
Wow.
And just emotional recalling that, but that's really the only thing that I can relate to as far as something that would possibly pertain to this topic.
Yeah. Well, that's a lot. That's enough.
Yeah.
That's a fantastic experience.
But
Wow.
some other examples, just give you an idea. Examples. The angel cloud in Texas. Another example. We all can remember the horrific events that happened during 9/11. There's the 9/11 angel tribute. Another example is Pastor saved by Johnny, the angelic nurse, security camera angel, and another one would be child held by angelic arms. And very interesting examples, to say the least. Interesting examples. The angel cloud in Texas. In Montgomery, Texas, a gentleman witnessed an angel-shaped cloud while driving along Highway 105 in a difficult time in his life. The formation stood out against the evening sky, radiating a sense of peace. The gentleman snapped a photo, and that photo quickly went viral on social media, sparking debates about whether or not it was divine intervention or a natural phenomenon. The 9/11 Angel Tribute. During the annual Twin Lights Tribute in Hoboken, New Jersey in 2016, a gentleman captured an image that appeared to show an angelic figure floating above the beams of light. While skeptics dismissed it as an unusual cloud formation, Many believe it was a sign of divine guardianship over those lost during the tragedy of 9/11. That's very interesting. Pastor saved by Johnny. A Columbus, Ohio pastor survived a fiery car accident when a mysterious man named Johnny pulled him from the wreckage moments before first responders arrived. Johnny vanished without explanation, leaving Boston convinced he had encountered an angel. The angelic nurse. A family experienced hope during Luke's family experienced hope during his battle with bone cancer. When a nurse dressed, and this is similar to your circumstances, Norm, a nurse dressed in outdated attire visited him in the hospital, praying for him to heal. Luke recovered fully from his infection and remains cancer-free today. That's amazing. The nurse was never identified again. There's the example of the security camera angel. A Michigan resident discovered a motion sensor camera captured an image resembling an angel hovering above his truck. The photo was shared widely on social media and interpreted by many as a heavenly sign. And then, of course, you have the child held by angelic arms. A 4-year-old child in her grandmother's care reported feeling held by unseen arms after tripping on stairs. She described seeing what looked like a glowing figure with bronze skin and radiating peace before it disappeared. That's very interesting.
It is. That's like Michelle's story with the arms.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So
I know I've seen a lot of pictures on social media that people have taken, and of course a lot of people are very quick to say, "Oh, AI." AI created that picture. But up in the cloud formation, you'll see what looks like a angel, and the wings are outward, and some of those pictures are pretty spectacular.
sure. And what about before AI?
Right.
You know?
Exactly.
Yes.
It would have to be somebody that is just phenomenally educated and manipulative to make a picture like that.
Right. Well,
And I have a thought about that, is that are these sightings of like the angel clouds and that sort of thing more prominent during times of stress and social unrest and so forth, or
No, that's a good question.
it's a very good question.
tragedy, a large tragedy maybe that brings comfort then to a lot of people, because many people could see that in the sky, whereas some of these stories that we're having are purely individual. And but when you get the large apparitions and things that are appearing for many to see, I think it's possibly time when many of us could use some solace and comfort to see those.
What are your thoughts, Norm, and then Michelle, and get input from you? But these people that report seeing what look like full-figured beings walking, coming down out of the clouds, or people reporting what seems like a floating city. Have you ever seen any of those clips on social media?
I have both of them, and they're not new. people have been painting pictures like that since they've been painting. I mean, there are cave paintings with people walking in the sky, or cities in the sky. So I think there might be more to it. We hear of the scientific term, the temperature inversion that creates the image that looks like it's floating, and there's all of that. But I think there's more to it. I think that might be a bleed over from a parallel dimension, or that there's got to be more to it. It's not a new phenomenon. And with AI, there are pictures that come out. There is video that comes out a little that is over the last couple of years that this is the clearest picture ever. Well, because it's made to be that way. So those are my thoughts. I think it's real. I don't know to what extent as of late, but it's not a new phenomenon. If it was brand new, I would say, yeah, I think it's all AI. But these are old things. They're in paintings that go way back. So I think there's some reality to it.
Yeah. And one of the things that I have seen with this, and I'm talking many years ago, is that some of these like floating cities or skylines that you see that are definitely up away from the horizon, that they've even been identified by specific buildings as a certain location, like halfway across the earth. And I've always found that a little odd, and people try to make explanations, because it's all just guess. I always wonder.
Well, there's the story of Shangri-La, the city in the sky.
Oh, that's right.
So
Yes.
there's that, and there are other stories too. And if it's okay with the both of you, there is a short story mailbag story, yes, that I would like to read. Is that okay with the both of you?
Oh, go for it. Absolutely.
All right. This
Great.
is from it's called My Encounter in Davenport. It was late autumn in Davenport, about 50 miles north of Chicago. The leaves were crisp beneath my boots as I walked home one evening under a cloudy sky tinged with orange hues. I lived near the old clock tower downtown, a landmark that loomed like a sentinel over the quiet streets. That night felt different. The air carried an unusual stillness despite the faint rustle of leaves caught in the breeze. As I turned onto my street, I noticed a figure standing near my porch. A tall man, dressed in white robes that shimmered faintly under the streetlight. His face was serene, yet commanding. "Don't be afraid," he said softly but firmly, as I froze mid-step. "You've been praying for guidance." I nodded instinctively. I had been grappling with a major decision at work all week. He handed me a small object, a feather, that seemed to glow faintly, and said only one word: trust. When I blinked again, he was gone. No footsteps leading away from my porch, no sound of departure. The moment changed me forever. I made my decision the next day with confidence, and I never regretted it.
Wow.
So when we ask, I need help, and things show up, people, signs, is that something, or are we reaching? In this case, I think that was clear. But what about cardinals? Michelle, do you have anything to say about those types of things?
I do, actually. And one of the stories that often occurs after somebody passes away, and is like seeing a cardinal generally, and it's like a sign of a deceased loved one coming to to say hi or goodbye, or just to give comfort. And and that's happened with some family members that they've seen it after their loved one has passed. And and they've seen a cardinal outside their window, and it's I guess it's just a thought and a story that's been passed down through the ages that it does bring comfort to many people, and there may be something to it.
Right.
And yeah,
Do you think in some cases we see what we want to see? If you change out that cardinal with a stick on the ground, then is that a sign from grandpa that, oh, we used to walk in the woods and I'm thinking about him? Is that part of it? Maybe, but maybe not. Maybe that stick on the ground really is grandpa. You miss grandpa. You miss the walks. You miss going to his cabin. You miss that time with him. Maybe that stick of birch on the ground is a sign because there's no birch trees around. I think that that's pretty interesting.
yes, and it can actually be that way, and it's whatever it is prompting us to have that thought, to have that comfort of a visit, and which does the heart. It brings peace.
So we all need more of that.
Yes, for
Amen.
sure.
Amen.
That's right.
I think, as far as people fear death, rightfully so, but death isn't the end. There is more to it. And, you have people that have been pronounced dead
Mm.
that have come back. And, the stories they have to tell are just unimaginable. But, every living being possesses an energy field. You can't destroy energy, it's impossible. Uh, when the body and the flesh cease to exist, your energy field passes on into a higher state of being. Uh, I firmly believe that. And, just the research that I've done has totally changed my way of thinking about death. What's to come is going to be unimaginably better than what we have experienced for the very short time that we are here on Earth. And I think we all have a lot to look forward to. And our loved ones that have passed, they're not gone. We will see them again.
Okay. So I have a question. And, the older I get, the more I contemplate mortality. And that's where, the bucket list comes from. That's one of the movies that has been out. But people have always said, before I die, I want to, fill in the blank. I want to go to the Grand Canyon. I want to go travel every state in the, in the country. I want to go to the Gulf of America. There's all these things that people say. What are some truths about getting a little bit older and about becoming an angel at some point? What are some of those thoughts? I'm I don't know how much longer I have. I didn't think I was going to make it this far. But what are some thoughts that people have about the end of the race? That checkered flag's coming up for all of us. What are some of the thoughts that people have? And what are some of the thoughts that, and this is personal for both of you, what are some of the thoughts that you have about that, or that you have heard other people say before they pass? And I used to be a hospice volunteer, so I would hear a lot of things at the end when people were at some point, literally
Yeah.
minutes away. And I know that I've heard some things like, I'm not going to heaven. I know I'm going to hell for the things that I've done. I've heard people say that. I have heard people say, I wish I would have spent more time with my family and not at the office. I've heard people say, I wish I would have read more books. I've heard people say, there was one wonderful woman, and she said, I wish I would have eaten more dessert instead of worrying about the shape of my ass. That's what
Oh,
she told me.
geez.
She was 93 years old. Ethel was her name.
And
And that's exactly what she told me. And Ethel didn't speak like that, but I guess she figured she was close enough to the finish line there that she was going to say whatever she wanted to say.
Jeez.
And she
yeah.
was just the most wonderful, wonderful person, So these thoughts, what are some of the things that you have thought or that you've heard other people say, and whoever wants to go first, go first.
I think myself, I used to laugh when my parents will say, wait till you're my age, wait till you're our age, just laugh like crazy, and you think time's flying by now, you wait till you're our age.
Mm.
And just can't believe I now I say, gee, they were correct, but I think if I were to pick something, I think I would like to experience before I leave this world. I would like to experience the seven wonders of the world. Now, I've already seen a few of them, but I would like to. I would like to experience all of them, and just something if you want to call it your bucket list. But that's always been on the top of my list. How about you, Michelle?
Well, I have not so much of a bucket list, but one of the things that I have realized as I've gotten older, and it doesn't matter really as much of the work that you've done, the task that you have completed, and I've always felt like, oh well, I have to finish this. I have to do something else, and I have to finish it. I have to do this or do that. Is that the value is not in the actual task and your efforts in it, but it's the relationship with the people that you love. Because those bonds of affection are so binding that they will keep a connection strong even past the time of death. And you will have that connection with your loved ones. And in some form of another, because there's that energy connection, Dan, that you had talked about earlier, that we are all energy. And so making sure that the dishes are all done or the beds are made or whatever. And it matters not. But the time, the precious moments that you do spend with each other have more value than any of the other things.
That's so very true.
Yeah. I'm going to tell my wife that I don't have to do dishes now. That's my takeaway from that.
You do that. and she'll say, well, neither do I.
Do you have any cast iron skillets in your house?
No, I got a few.
I'd remove those before you tell her you're not doing the dishes anymore.
Yeah.
I like that sentiment, Michelle.
Oh, absolutely.
Because it
absolutely.
really is about kindness. It's about love. And it's not just about the people we know. It's about the people we don't know. It's about how we extend that kindness to strangers. And maybe it's just a smile. There are people that will not get smiled at all day or even looked at. And, to look somebody in the eye and smile and say, and just smile, but go the extra mile and say, hello. That doesn't happen to everybody. There are people that feel super lonely because they're just a cog in the wheel, and they don't have anybody to say anything, so.
And what we were talking about is us as energy beings. Well, the angels that we've been discussing also are energy beings on another dimension, but they're coming here to visit and to assist people here who are in great need of help. Well, I guess we could actually, just what you were saying, Norm, is be that person that by chance they're going past someone that needs that smile, needs the compliment, and it will make a difference. And there's some sort of connection then that's made, and maybe we're acting a little bit like an angel here, or just to help for that moment.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
it's just a different way of thinking about it.
Yep.
Well, some conspiracy theories, and of course, you always have conspiracy theorists out there. Uh, some of the conspiracy theories that go along with this topic. Some people theorize that angels are aliens.
Hmm.
Some theorists suggest that extraterrestrial beings are misunderstood, and the beings are misunderstood by ancient cultures. Another one, and of course, I think our first two episodes, you have government cover ups. Seems like the government is always involved. But government cover ups claims persist that the government has evidence of angelic encounters, but suppress them to avoid public panic. I think that's ridiculous. I think if we were to sit down tonight and on the 11 o'clock news, the government would come on and say, well, we've been hiding evidence that there have been angelic encounters. I'm not going to go jump off a building. I don't think anybody would. That's ridiculous in my thought process. And another one, ancient technology. Speculations arise that angelic interventions were actually advanced technologies by lost civilizations like Atlantis.
Okay. So let's back up just a little bit with the government cover up, saying that, like you were saying, with the evidence being suppressed to avoid public panic. I think if anything it would provide comfort. It would,
Absolutely.
and energy, as we have said many times, even within 3 episodes, energy is a real thing, and energy fuels situations. If you're positive, it will. Every situation needs energy, and if you have a positive thought, you put the positive energy into that, and so you get, most oftentimes, a positive outcome. At the very least, you have a positive outlook, a positive perspective. And if you have a negative perspective going into a situation, you're going to have a negative result. So with this government cover up, all of that to say, what fuel do we provide as a society? Is it more positive? Is it more negative? Are our emotions being harvested for some type of energy, some type of fuel for something? There's a lot of people out there that believe that's the case, that the negative in the world is designed, that is all done by design, so that the forces that be feed off of that to whatever end they want it to be. So I don't know. I think that is an interesting theory that I've read about, why the news is so negative is because they want us all to feel negative, because that's whoever they are, that's their energy.
Yeah.
Well, the
Right.
saying, negativity fuels negativity.
Mhm.
Positivity fuels positivity.
Mhm.
So if you go through life with a negative attitude, that negativity is going to follow you everywhere you go.
Sure.
If you go through life with a positive attitude, it's going to bring positivity into your life.
Absolutely. That where you focus your intent and your thoughts, it's you'll experience more of the same. But Norm, I've heard that as well before, as with like the energy that they, if we're in fear, that that can that energy is useful for some awful beings possibly, or whatever. But
Right.
it's energy,
Hmm.
and energy's all around us. And I do believe we produce our own energy, and it's either positive or negative or somewhere in between. That uh, it just seems like whenever there's anger and hatred, that those emotions are extremely high, and they seem very, very strong. And maybe there's a reason our newscasters or whatever, kind of like that's what you hear on the news. That's what people want to listen to. Uh, you know, it's not that somebody has, you know, been a good baker and they have this new recipe for baking apple pie or something like that. That does not rate very high for viewership.
Right.
She's
But,
making me hungry, Norm.
yeah, so there could be something to that about the energy that is produced by anger and fear, whereas
Right.
as the loving kindness has a very different feel to it.
What does that fuel? If the negative, we've heard that negative energy will fuel these dark beings, the shadow people, the demons. What does the positive energy the fuel? Does that fuel the angels? Are angels and demons the same but on different ends of the spectrum?
That's a good thought.
Yeah, very good thought. It kind of makes a little bit of sense, though, doesn't it?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know what the facts are overall, but I do have a couple that we can read,
Okay.
if that's okay to move on. So, angels are mentioned over 300 times in the Bible. And many religions describe angels as intermediaries between humans and God. Guardian angels are believed to protect individuals throughout their lives. Angel sightings are often reported during life-threatening situations or moments of despair. Scientific studies link belief in angels to psychological resilience during crises. And some theologians argue angels represent archetypes rather than literal beings. Any thoughts on any of that? Well, with the religious text, it says here the Bible, but there's more than one religious text. And even within the Bible, there are so many variations of that. If we could get back to ancient Aramaic and get the actual text and understand the meaning, but even at that, there are. Oh, I thought I saw something behind me. It was your wife behind you. Things happen in this basement. I'll tell you. I saw some as Michelle, as you were talking, into the bubble of my lens, I saw something moving behind me, and I looked over to see if it was showing up on camera. And then Dan, I don't know if you saw it, but your wife came in and closed the door, and I thought something was behind me. So anyway, we were talking about the different religious texts in ancient Aramaic. Even if we had the original Bible, which is just the original text, there are things in there that we probably wouldn't understand just because of the cultural reference and the time that has elapsed. We don't light our rooms with we don't have a lamp with olive oil in it anymore, or beef fat, or whatever they used to use. And things are different now. So I think that the texts need to be updated so that we can relate. I think that's part of it. The problem is,
Right.
who has the authority to update it, and does their own agenda get woven into those facts, if they're even facts? Are we so far away from the original Bible that it everything it's not real anymore? I don't know. I want to believe that the spirit and the energy of the original text has carried through. I just don't know. And to me, I wonder why it's okay to change. Why give God a gender at all? Why say he, or that we do that so that we can personify something, that we can put a face on an energy, right? And if that's the case, if it's okay to say he, is it okay to say she? Is it okay to change whatever we want and do our own version based off what we find comforting? King James has his own version, and how many different versions are there in print right now? So
That's
I
true.
find that interesting.
Yes.
And which version out of the many that there are is the actual truth?
Sure.
And could it be that, excuse me, all of the above?
It could be. And, with that said, I'm thinking about all these versions of the Bible. I'm talking about the angels. Are angels depicted in all of these versions the same way? Are some
Good
angels? I mean, even Lucifer was considered an angel, right?
He was outcast.
Right. He was the first one, right? And I also read somewhere that he was a musician, which I find interesting. And what? And he tried to convince other people that it's better somewhere else. What's better than heaven? If this is the story, right? So there's missing, to me, what we have now isn't the whole story. And you try to get these different versions and try to piece together, but what's pieced together? Is it right? Is it not right? Is there an entertainment factor in there? I don't know. You just kind of have to go with your heart and say, let's look at what's true in all of these texts. And it's kindness, it's being loving, it's being understanding, it's being patient. Those things are what we need to focus on in any religion, really. Any spiritual meditation, really. That's what we focus on, is the good things. I don't think we don't have the whole story. I don't know if we ever will. They whoever they are, it's purported that when we cross over, we know we get all the answers that we've been seeking. And wouldn't that be something if we just know, if we cross over and we understand that plants are individuals just like humans were or are, and they're connected in ways that we could never even imagine as humans. But when we get to the other dimension, the other side, wherever there is, that we understand that those plants gave some kind of energy, not just oxygen, but they gave off energy that we needed as well. And that they had some kind of really special collaboration with the sun. And
plants have an aura, just like
Oh, they do.
a human being. Plants are energy.
Mhm.
And when that day comes, when we do pass over, we'll have all the answers. We will know.
Right. Well,
And
I'm sorry.
yes, we can be, and maybe then we can interact with other conscious beings, just like we do here,
Mhm.
but on another level.
Right. Well, with that interaction here and now, there are some psychological aspects to the angels and what we perceive and how we perceive them. Dan, would you like to
Yeah,
explore?
psychological aspects. Belief in angels often stem from humanity's need for comfort and protection during certain uncertain times.
Right.
Encounters may be attributed to heightened emotion states and subconscious manifestations of hope and faith. Angels symbolize guidance and reassurance in moments when individuals feel powerless and seek meaning beyond physical reality.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so that's on the kind of the personal side of things, but on the as a society, some of the sociological impacts are the angels influence society by fostering hope and unity across diverse cultures and religions. They often appear as symbols of protection during national tragedies like 9/11 and inspire countless acts of kindness attributed to divine intervention. So we see in times of crisis, we need comfort, and we see that in the clouds with many people witnessing it once. And sometimes it'll be, Mother Teresa has came to me on, she's on my toast, I took the toaster out and there's you see,
Yeah.
there are pictures of that. The people see that, and they see that because
Yes.
they need to see it, and they see it because they want to see it. And I think there's a blend between both of it. I mean, there are pieces of bread that have been toasted that have images that are in museums.
Yeah, haven't they even auctioned some of those off for millions of dollars?
They have,
Yeah.
Yeah.
absolutely have.
Yep.
So
Well, even in
Uh,
pop culture, movies that are out there, City of Angels, Constantine, Angels and Demons. You have tons and tons and tons of books. Angels in America. You have the Screw type letters. I won't name the authors, but TV shows. Touched by an Angel. That was a good show. Supernatural was another good one. And then of course you have dozens and dozens and dozens of podcasts. Angels Among Us.
you know
yeah. It's a fantastic topic and we've just touched on a few of the ways that uh, angels are interpreted, but the movies and the stories, just it's so many different ways to describe them, and uh, good plot and wonderful stories.
mhm.
You take, the syndicated TV shows or movies. You know, movies and shows are made for one reason, unless it's a documentary. They're made for entertainment purposes.
Mhm.
There is so much of that is made up or is bogus, but even at that, I think it's like 15-20% of what went into that is actual reality.
Mhm.
So when you think about that, uh, how much more is there that they're not telling us? You just kind of have to read between the lines, so to speak.
Yeah. I'm looking up right now on my fancy phone off camera. There was a show with Michael Landon. He was an angel. I remember watching it as a kid. I'm trying to find
Used
the
to
name.
watch that all the time.
What do you know the name of it?
Oh, it's it's right there.
I can't see it. I can't see it through all that clutter up there. Michael Landon. He was an angel, right?
Yeah,
I spelled angle. Michael Landon Angel. Angel. Let's see. There we go. It's coming. Highway to Heaven was the name
Highway
of
to
it.
Heaven. That's it.
There it is. That's it.
It was
Okay.
that was a good show.
Yes,
You
it
know,
was.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
it's back when TV was wholesome. Now I watched this
Yes.
show the other day. It was a music show, the Grammys or the Emmys or whatever. I didn't see much of it, but what I turned on, it was a girl didn't even have clothes on. It was some most undressed dress that was ever walked across the stage or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know, but they bring it back. You know what I mean? Bring it back to the Highway to Heaven type shows. But I don't know, the threshold we've crossed the threshold of entertainment so much. You know, push that boundary, push that boundary, push that boundary. Whatever worked well in the ratings, we're going to do more of that. And what worked well in the ratings? Sex sells. So there's more of that in everything. And you know, it just, you know, bring back some of the wholesomeness. And I'm saying that, you know, with me being, you know, around 50 years old, I can only imagine some of the wholesome things that you have seen, the shows back in the, you know, the 60s, in the even the 50s, you know, when it was, you know, a lot of that stuff was plays. You'd go out and watch a play at the high school or something at the local theater. TV wasn't such a big thing as it is now. It was the movies. You go to the movies, you get your newsreel, and then you watch the movie, you know. So
Oh yes, that's right.
yep. But that's a little before my time. I'm the Highway to Heaven, Knight Rider. I'm that generation.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So
What do you think about debunking attempts on this topic, Norm?
you know, there's so many sightings and misinterpretations that that can happen. You see what you want to see, but you know, to try to recreate it, you can tell somebody, this is what I saw in my bedroom, come sit and stare at the wall, because that's what I was doing when it happened, and you can't repeat it. And when things can't be repeated, then it's considered debunked. But that angel may not have been for anybody else to see but that one person.
Right.
You know, so,
And
I'm sorry, go ahead.
that one person is going to say, I know what I saw and I know what it was. And his or her belief is as strong and will never be wavered.
Mm-hmm.
And sorry, I didn't want to step in there, but
No, I'm glad you did.
but really it is for that one person. And
Right. So when you try to prove it or disprove it, you can't. And that's part of the whole paranormal experience. You know, that's the purpose of this podcast, is to try to explain, try to talk about some topics that a lot of people may have had one experience with, a sighting in the woods with an angel near a brook, or an angel in a ghost, excuse me, I almost said a ghost yard, an angel in a graveyard, because you know, and this is the place for them to explore that. So I'm glad we're able to talk about it, and we you know, we laugh and we have fun, you know, but we talked about some deep stuff. I mean, I asked you what your thoughts are on death. That's a big question. That's a very personal thing. So thank you both for sharing that. You know, I really do appreciate it, and you know, I think that's probably a good place for us to have a conclusion for this podcast. Dan, would you like to take us out?
Well, first of all, I want to say, you know, for those listeners out there, don't be afraid of the unknown. The paranormal is more normal than you think. And there's a lot more to it than what we've been led to believe. We've been lied to all our lives. Just keep an open mind. And, you know, by all means, please don't be afraid of the unknown. But in conclusion, the mystery surrounding angels continue to inspire and awe skepticism alike. Whether the divine messengers are figments of imagination, their stories remind us of humanity's yearning for connection with something greater than ourselves. Share your experiences with us. Gateway to the unknown. Every story matters. We want to hear your stories. We want to hear your experiences. And, we want to share them. That's what this platform is all about. Sharing our experiences, helping one another, be there for one another. And please, by all means, if you'd like to be a guest on our podcast, reach out to myself or Norm, and would love to have you. And leave your questions and comments. Do you like what we're doing? Do you not like what we're doing? What can we do to make it better? Would like to hear from you. Stay safe. God bless. And thank you for joining us. And Michelle, thank you for spending your evening with us.
You're quite welcome. I was glad to be here.
And what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a QR code that's going to be coming up on the screen very shortly, and you can scan that. And there's going to be some other notes in the show notes. If you're watching on YouTube, you can hit the more button underneath the screen, and that's where that information will be. So I just want to say thank you to both Dan and Michelle. Thank you very much for everything that you do, and thank you for sharing very personal things. I do appreciate that very much. So I hope we get to do this again real soon. Like maybe we can film tomorrow.
Nope. Let me know. And
That's good.
you guys stay safe and God bless. And we'll have to do this again.
Sounds great.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
In the still of night, where shadows creep.